Hello there. Welcome to the Saroy channel, wherever you are in the world, and so much love to each and every one of you. How are you doing? I do hope you're doing remarkably well. I'm doing great, thank you very much. And even greater because you're joining me tonight for a fabulous story. And boy, have I got a fabulous story for you. So before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell and the thumbs up. And let's get started with tonight's story. Dear Sarah, and all your lovely listeners, I've just received my post from my postbox in Anchorage, Alaska. I'm sitting comfortably in my truck while I rifle through the post, and I see an atypical card in a bright red envelope, which immediately grabs my attention. It looks intriguing, a whole lot more exciting and fascinating than the standard brown mail I normally receive. Who is this from, I wonder, examining the writing, which I don't recognise. Weird, I think, tearing back the envelope rather curiously. Maybe I have a secret admirer, I tease myself. Chance would be a fine thing, although let's not kid. There are some extremely eligible bachelors living here in the rough country of Alaska, looking for women exactly like me, who are willing to embrace a maverick, nonconformist, free-spirited way of life. But I'm not ready for settling down, not yet. Besides, it's not like I actually get to meet many people in my off-grid lifestyle. I'm not exactly a social, dynamic, interactive, gregarious personality. Alaska attracts many self-contained, autonomous, hermetic characters rather like myself, hankering after a life close to nature, away from many of the modern conveniences and advantages of everyday life. Believe it or not, I had been persuaded once to enjoy a hypnotherapy past life regression session, booked for me by an alternative friend of mine, who gave me the session as a Christmas present. I'm open-minded, so I shrugged my shoulders and said why not. I came through as a lonesome trapper in a former life called Hank, that had loved living on his own with his dogs, in the remote, barren wilderness. I had to laugh at that. It was hilariously funny. If there was any truth to the story, it would seem I had not deviated from my solitary, sequestered ways. Even when I was at school, all my report cards would say almost exactly the same things. Eve is withdrawn and introverted. She loves to isolate herself from people. She tends to keep herself to herself. She doesn't socially interact with the other kids, nor does she participate in class very much. It was not that I didn't like people, far from it in fact, but I loved spending time on my own. Some people find that enigmatic to comprehend and even understand, and truly, I do get it. But for me, solitude brings a huge measure of peace. I've always needed my own private sanctuary. It would seem that, like the indigenous wild animals in the Alaskan wilderness, I was likewise born an unorthodox person, with a free spirit. I loved living on my own with my golden retriever Ernest. I called him Ernest, as he always had an earnest expression in his dark eyes. He was a big dog with the fluffiest cream coat you've ever seen. Suffice to say, most people mistook him for a Pyrenees mountain dog, because he was so large. Then again, most things are much larger in Alaska, from the wildlife to the geographic scenery here. The glacier-garbed mountains that stretch to the horizon, that are magnificently reflected in the lakes here, dyed a bluish hue from all the silt. Then there are the highway passes, volcanoes, exquisite coastline, sprawling vast expanses of open wilderness, and of course, last but not least, the northern lights. Let's just say these chocolate box prepossessing views, inviting many international tourists to come to this part of the world to ogle and admire the Alaskan scenery. But the truth about this beauty, it does come with pain, much like a rose with a thorn. There is a price to be paid, living in this last frontier, as many people mysteriously go missing in the Alaskan Triangle every year, never to be seen or heard from again. And rumours abound about what could possibly have happened to them, from being attacked by a wild animal, a bear, hellhounds, skinwalkers, dogman, the Kushtaka, otherwise known as Ottoman, Bigfoot, abducted by aliens, entered into a portal or different dimension, even a stargate. As many believe, there are a plethora of mysterious, hidden, clandestine gateways here to other realms. So the wild speculation goes on, but no one has ever arrived at any substantial answers or conclusions that carry much weight. So all these fanciful, far-flung theories are clouded with the milk of obscurity and uncertainty. Let's just say living here is not easy, especially during the winter months. In January, our temperatures can drop down at night to 9.3 degrees Fahrenheit, and I don't have to tell you how bitterly cold that is. Yet despite the hardship that life engenders here, I love it all, I really do. And I would never live anywhere else in the entire world. Alaska is my beloved home. It's a quintessential part of me. There rarely is a great feeling one gets from conquering obstacles and challenges in life, being able to overcome adversity in all of its forms. You don't have to win a gold cup at the Winter Olympics to feel a huge measure of successful satisfaction, as surviving here in Alaska in grueling sub-zero conditions, numbing Arctic weather, makes everybody a gold medal winner in my book. I also adore the unusual congregations of wildlife we get here. I regularly get visited by 2 bald eagles, a male and a female. They come and perch on the balustrades of my wraparound porch to visit Ernest, my golden retriever, and my large tabby cat Muffin. Let me assure you, these unusual idiosyncratic animal interactions I've only ever seen in Alaska, and I doubt would happen quite so much anywhere else in the world. They hang out together on my porch, my cat, my dog, and the 2 majestic bald eagles. It is a spectacular sight to behold, and as bizarre as it sounds, they are unlikely friends. They genuinely get on, and always look forward to seeing each other. I open up the card in the red envelope, which bounces up into a dolphin jumping over a wave, and the card bursts into merry song, singing happy birthday to you. Every time I close the card and open it up again, it bursts into song. It's an eye-catching card, quite a showstopper really. I don't think I've ever received such a flamboyant card before. It had been my birthday about 3 days ago. Not many people remember my birthday, with the exception, of course, of my mother, who usually phones me a day after the event, as even she can be a tad forgetful, I hasten to say. You see, if you're living off the grid in Alaska, it can be easy to forget the days of the week and think it's Wednesday when it's actually Friday. I read the print which reads, "I bounced over a wave to wish you happy birthday," and then the scribbling scroll which reads, "Remember me, sis. Long time no see. Hope you're having a great birthday. Love, Jason. P.S. Couldn't resist this card. I know how you love dolphins. Remember the fluffy dolphin I gave you for your birthday once? Have you still got it?" Little does he know, Ernest now owns that fluffy dolphin that resides happily in his dog basket, among many of his fluffy trophies. Ernest is very particular about his fluffy toys. I gasp in astonishment. What a bolt out of the blue. Are you kidding me? The last time I'd seen Jason was over 10 years ago, when I was 15 years old, and my mother had foolishly married his father, so subsequently Jason had become my stepbrother for a very short period of time. Let's just say he thoroughly enjoyed the privilege of having a sister, but the feeling was not reciprocated. By all accounts, he'd made the most of having a sister in his life, which was a new curiosity for him. He was tirelessly teasing me and giving me a hard time over everything. In truth, there'd be no love lost between the 2 of us. Well, not on my side, that is. My mother's marriage to his father had folded, rather like a camping chair that had seen better days, and after 1 year she filed for divorce. I think the relationship fell apart because they had so little in common, and it took them a year to find this out, that it wasn't actually going to work out for them in the long term. It happens here a lot in Alaska, people getting married for companionship reasons, so that you're in good company on those cold, long winter days, but it really does help to actually like each other. I had never been more relieved in my life when my mother left that relationship behind her. Finally our lives would return to normal, and I wouldn't have to put up with the garrulous, ever-inquiring stepfather of mine, along with his irritating son. Now this blast from the past has come blustering back into my life like an unwelcome wind. How strange, I think to myself. What made Jason contact me after all this time? How peculiarly odd. Don't tell me that he actually feels remorse for teasing me so much 10 years ago. That was hardly likely. I don't think Jason would have a remorseful bone in his body. Growing up, he'd always been up to all kinds of tricks that only he found amusing, as usually his tricks would be at somebody else's expense, most usually me. I was often the butt of his jokes, arriving at school with sandwiches crawling with maggots, or drinking water swimming with tadpoles, or frogs bouncing out of my rucksack, or which he found hilariously funny, sometimes with a sticky note attached to my back saying, "Kick me, I'm an ass." And all day perfect strangers would come up to me, kicking me in the backside, until someone was kind enough to point out the note on my back. One day he put glitter spray in my wash bag, and I sprayed my hair with the hairspray, arriving at school with everyone giving me funny looks. I was even called into the head's office to explain myself, as my hair had been sprayed bright green. Of course, Jason had found the whole thing terribly funny. Ernest is making a frustrated noise at the back of his throat. When my dog does this, I know he's saying, "Can't we move on now?" I look up at my dog affectionately. "We're going soon," I say to Ernest, as I put the rest of the boring post on the passenger side seat. I'll look at that later, I decide. Ernest is leaning over the back seat, watching me through his soulful black eyes. I always sense he understands what I'm saying. He wears an intelligent expression on his face and wags his tail in agreement. For in Ernest's world, I am always right. That's what's great about dogs. They love you unconditionally. And Ernest is my best friend in the log cabin, where I live alone, with my big fat cat Muffin, and of course Ernest. 3 of us against the world, you could say. The 3 musketeers. Muffin loves idling away the long hours by a snug crackling fire on a comfortable couch, and staring at you through half-shut, very sleepy eyes. Muffin's only activity is to wobble over to his food bowl. But if his feathery bald eagle's friends arrive on our porch, he darts out onto the porch like a bullet. I've seen him perch on the banister of the porch, yards away from his bald eagle friend, and it's the most endearing thing to watch. On one occasion the bald eagle was eating a dead rabbit, and kept throwing pieces of meat to Muffin, who ate them hungrily. The bald eagle obviously knew what I'd always known, that the direct way to Muffin's heart is directly through his rather sizable stomach. I spent the rest of my morning in Anchorage picking up a few supplies, and then I'm off on my merry way, back to my off-grid lifestyle, 4.5 hours drive away from Anchorage, where I live on a remote piece of land in a log cabin that bears a remarkable resemblance to a Swiss chalet. I rely on generators for energy and water tanks for my water supply, and let's just say I get through a lot of chopped wood during the winter months, which I chop myself. Who needs a gym to keep fit? Alaska is my gym, and it makes you a hell of a lot fitter than a treadmill or a bunch of stair climbers, let me tell you. Those kind of things would be a piece of cake for me to tackle, but so insanely boring. When I drive down the road in my truck, I almost stop dead in my tracks when I see a white Dodge Power Raptor truck parked outside my cabin. Bear in mind this is the middle of nowhere, so who is this unlikely stranger visiting me out of the blue like this? I don't like unexpected visitors or surprises. I don't know anyone who owns a truck like this. What can I say? Is this morning going to be blistered with fortuitous events? First, a surprise birthday card from a stepbrother I haven't seen in years, and now a stranger serendipitously parked outside my cabin. I grab my revolver from my glove compartment. I'm naturally always guarded and suspicious of any strangers that come onto my property. As soon as I park my red Toyota Land Cruiser, I see the driver's side door of the Dodge Power Raptor open, and a man climbs out. He doesn't look threatening, but you can never be sure. Appearances can easily be deceptive. I learnt that a long time ago. The man looks to be my age, but a little bit on the thin side, rather underweight. On seeing me, he hobbles over to my truck. I must admit, he doesn't look terribly well. His face is all ashen, as if the colour has been sucked and drained out of his skin. But my first thought is, who the hell is he? And what is he doing parked outside my property in the first place? My hands are clenched tightly on my revolver, as I'm suspicious of anybody that I don't know. It's always wise to be cautious. The man staggers forward and almost collapses on the side of my truck. "Who are you?" I ask, rolling down my driver's side window. "I'm your brother Jason's friend.
He was on special operations with me to take down a drug dealer in Anchorage.
He's not my brother, I say gingerly. He was my stepbrother for a year, that's all. We're not even related by blood. I'd hardly even describe him as my friend.
He said you'd say that, says the man grimacing, as if fighting off spasms of pain. He hands me a burner phone. Just press the caller number. You'll get through to Jason. He needs to speak to you on my account. He'll explain everything.
I reluctantly take the burner phone from the strange man, pressing the caller number, pulling up my driver's side window so that he doesn't hear my conversation. I have in mind to give Jason a piece of my mind. How dare he lumber me with this peculiar man? What the hell is he doing?
Hello, sis,
comes a familiar voice at the end of the line that doesn't appear to have changed a lot in 10 years.
Hope you liked the birthday card. Rather a charming card, I thought. Long time no see. How long has it been? I think it's 10 years. Have you been missing your favourite brother? I'm sure you have. No one has pranked you as well as I have over the years. I'm sure of that.
Jason, what is all this about? Why is there a strange man on my property who looks like he's about to pass out in any second? He really doesn't look well. Why is he asking me to phone you? And more to the point, why is this man connected to you? Who is he? Furthermore, how the heck do you actually know where I live? I haven't been in touch with you for years.
Finding out where you live, sis, is not hard. I'm on the police undercover drug operations unit, and it's our job to know things. I sent him to you, sis. He needs your help.
Are you kidding me, Jason? It's not my job to look after your friends when they're feeling out of sorts. Do I look like a nurse? What's wrong with him anyway? He's clutching his chest. Clearly he's in terrible pain. In truth, he looks like he might just drop down dead in any second. Who the hell is he? What's he doing here?
He's my very best friend. Very good guy. He was in hospital. It's going to take him a while to recover. It was a close call. Touch and go for a while. Several life-threatening injuries that just missed the heart. He was shot in the chest over 6 times. So his body has been through a meat grinder, let me tell you. He was responsible for bringing down the big stud. A dangerous man, very dangerous, in an undercover drug operation. In truth, he's an unsung hero for what he did. He's one of the most courageous men I know on our team. He took down some notorious sleazebags, you know, but it came at a steep price. There is an evil man after him now, well known to the police, but he remains at large. This duplicitous, very vindictive character, I might add, wants to take my friend down, so he's safe there with you. No one would suspect he would be recuperating in a remote country cabin, way off the beaten track. He needs lots and lots of time to heal.
Wait, Jason, what are you saying? That you've sent this perfect stranger to me, who's wanted by some bad guy? Are you putting my life in danger now? Because if you are, I'm not laughing. Do you hear me laugh?
Calm down, sis. Don't be silly. I wouldn't jeopardize your safety at all. I'm not that silly. You're perfectly safe. As I said to you, no one will suspect a thing. I know how these men think. You're out in the middle of nowhere. I knew your place would be perfect for Dustin, sis. I thought of my lone wolf sister straight away, with her incredibly kind heart. The two of you will hit it off together very nicely, I think.
So I'm expected to nurse a strange man I don't even know, that you've just dumped on me like that? That's so considerate of you, Jason. You really are so thoughtful. I need this like I need a hole in my head. I really don't like strange men rocking up at my front door for nursing privileges.
He's not a strange man, sis. You're being very unkind talking like that. I keep telling you, he's my very best friend. I'm very, very concerned about his welfare. I want to make absolutely sure he makes a full recovery. He should still be in hospital, you know, but it's not safe. He's in a lot of pain. The doctors weren't terribly thrilled him coming out of the hospital too soon, but some things can't be helped. He had to be removed from hospital for his own safety. He's on a plethora of painkillers and other meds, but he needs time to recuperate and for his body to thoroughly heal.
I can see that. What's in this for me, Jason? I'm not in the habit of taking care of perfect strangers from the goodness of my heart. Out here it's tough, you know. Even looking after myself is not easy. I'm scraping a living selling my pictures to tourists here. I'm not exactly flush with the cash, you know.
That's my whole point, sis. You need the money. I'll be putting $100,000 in your bank account if you take good care of him. There is more where that came from, but that's if you do a good job.
$100,000? Are you being serious?
Absolutely. It'll be in your bank account in the morning.
You don't even know my bank details.
Oh, I know your bank details, sis. There isn't much I don't know. I'll be in touch.
Hold on a moment. I haven't agreed to any of this, Jason.
You're rarely going to turn down that kind of money. That's not like you, sis. You can't afford to. Imagine what you could do with it. You could buy yourself a new truck, go on a fabulous holiday.
All right, I'll do it. But how long is he going to be here for?
As soon as he's better, sis. Then he'll leave. Speak to you soon.
The call just ends. I wind down my driver's side window to look at the stranger.
I take it you've spoken to him, says the man, looking at me apologetically. I'm sorry to have to do this to you. I really am. It must be a dreadful nuisance. Put you out. But Jason believes I'll be safe with you.
I grimace. It can't be helped. I just hope you'll be comfortable living in a remote wooden cabin with me. I have to warn you, I'm not actually the life and soul of the party. I'm not the gregarious, charming type. But I do make a mean filet mignon, and my potato gnocchi is legendary.
Sounds good to me. I'm not exactly social dynamite myself, and I am rather partial to potato gnocchi. In fact, I like it very much.
When I open the car door, Ernest races towards the stranger, his tail thumping excitedly. Ernest is a very good judge of character, and he instinctively likes the stranger. But he's an intelligent dog, and when he smells the area around the man's chest, he managed to contain his ebullience, as if he sensed the man's physical discomfort and pain. I imagine with his sense of smell, he can pick up the smell of the man's recent surgery. The man is clutching the side of my car, hunched over like an old man that is unstable on his feet and needs a walker or wheelchair. Oh dear, how am I going to help him? Do you think you can manage to walk into the cabin? You can lean on me if you like. If you don't mind my saying, you look like you came out of hospital way too soon. It sounds like your poor body has taken one hell of a beating. The man gratefully leans on my shoulder.
It wasn't like I had a choice in the matter. The man that's after me, he'd stop at nothing to find a way into the hospital to kill me. We all knew that. It just wasn't worth the risk. I don't fancy another near-death experience, I can assure you of that.
How do you know that man who's looking for you won't find you here? I don't need to invite danger to my door. I hope you appreciate that. I don't need any kind of trouble. I really enjoy the quiet life. That's why I live here all on my own, with my 2 animals.
I promise you, they'd never find me here. They'd never even dream of looking out here. I'm reasonably confident about that. Well, very confident. It was like driving around in a maze looking for this place. You rarely are out in the middle of nowhere. And your cabin, nestled on this big sprawling meadow, is fringed between the trees on every side. It's almost like a chameleon. I barely even noticed the narrow road that leads straight to your cabin. It's so inconspicuous, it's almost invisible. You rarely are out in the sticks here, but I will admit it's breathtakingly beautiful. The views are outstanding. I get why you live here.
I wasn't very confident by this man's reassurance in regards to our safety, but I knew I needed the money. I mean, it's not every day of the week you're guaranteed such a hefty paycheck. Besides, by the state of him, he wasn't going anywhere anyway. It was a miracle he'd managed to drive to my cabin in the first place. By all accounts, at the best of times, my cabin was almost impossible to find. I knew this by the countless amount of people over the last 5 years have tried to find my property,
with not much success, I hasten to say. If you don't know where to look, it's rather like looking for a needle in a haystack, trying to find my cabin. I lead the man into my living room, with the full intention of taking him into the spare bedroom, further down the passageway, but he's clutching his chest, heaving awkwardly, groaning out in agonizing pain. He's so weak, so out of breath, that I immediately direct him to the settee, which he sinks into gratefully. I can see the huge relief washing over his face. I pull off his leather boots from his feet and help him lie back on the couch. I cover him with a blanket and put a couple of pillows behind his head. He groans with satisfaction, and minutes later he's fast asleep. The poor man, he's utterly exhausted. It must have taken him all his energy to get to my property, and judging by the bagginess of his clothes, I would hedge a bet that since the fortuitous shooting, he's lost a considerable amount of weight, along with fitness and strength. I find myself feeling quite sorry for the man. He's been to hell and back, and a hair's breadth away from death. In truth, I wasn't sure how I felt about having a perfect stranger living under my roof with me. I was used to being on my own, so the dynamics in the cabin had significantly shifted, with another mouth to feed, and another presence that had interrupted the solitude of my maverick-like existence. I could see Ernest didn't seem to mind the stranger at all. He had rather warmed to him, and retrieved half his doggy toys from his basket, parking them all over the sleeping man's blanket, giving him wet nudges with his nose. But the oblivious man slept for so long that I was worried he might need medications, something to drink or eat, and of course the quintessential trip to the bathroom to empty his bladder. Looking after him wasn't going to be as plain sailing as I thought. It wasn't straightforward, was it? I wasn't exactly cut out to be a nurse, but I'd do my level best. I'm sure he wouldn't be here for very long, but I wasn't sure how long it would take him to heal from his injuries. I knew from experience that the body has a mind of its own. It heals in its own time, and everybody's body is different. I finally decide to wake up the man. I tap him gently on the shoulders. The next thing I know, he reacts so adversely, like you do when you're in a panic. He grabs me forcefully. His hands are around my throat, as if he's about to wring my neck. "Stop it! Stop it!" I scream out. "Stop it! What the hell are you doing?" I thrash out my arms at him to fight him off. My God, even in his weak state, he's very strong. I push the man away. "I was trying to wake you up, for goodness sake. I wasn't attacking you. That's what you thought, didn't you? My God, you really are living on a knife edge." The man releases his grip. He looks at me apologetically. "Sorry," he says bashfully. "I thought I was being pounced on by that dealer. In future, if you want to wake me up, it might be best if you shouted out my name. As you were saying, I'm a little on tender hooks. You do get a little edgy when you've been shot a few times and have come that close to death. Sorry I didn't introduce myself to you earlier on. I'm Dustin." "I'm Eve. It's nice to meet you, Dustin, although I wish it could be under better circumstances. You're one of the sickest-looking people I've ever met, and I don't say that lightly." "Remind me to visit you, Eve, when I want a confidence boost. You rarely know how to make a man feel good about himself." He glances down at his blanket, covered with dog toys. "What's going on here? It looks like I'm being decorated with a plethora of dog toys. I'm not exactly a Christmas tree, am I?" "Oh, it's Ernest," I grin. "I think he was trying to get you to play with him earlier on, by throwing his toys on you, for you to throw for him to fetch. But you were so zonked out. You were completely out for the count. You never felt any of his insistent nudges. And believe me, Ernest can be a pushy dog when he wants to be. When you didn't react to his nudges, let's just say he was more than a little disappointed. He actually whimpered and went back to his basket, looking very sorry for himself indeed." "Is he always like this, pushy?" "Always. It's the golden retriever in him, you see. He loves retrieving things. It's in their DNA. Most people think he's a Pyrenees mountain dog because he's so big, but he's not. Now, Dustin, can I get you anything to eat or drink? That's actually why I woke you up. You've been asleep for over 5 hours. "I was completely zonked." "No, I'm fine, but I would appreciate some of my medications if I may. They're in the duffel bag, in my trunk, of the truck, of course," he says, reaching in his pocket for his car keys and throwing them for me to catch.
The jingling movement excites Ernest, who's thinking that a game of fetch is clearly on the cards, and he lets out a very excited woof, thumping his tail on the floor eagerly, in hopeful anticipation. No, Ernest, this is not a game of fetch, I tell him, as to which his tail dives between his legs. His dark eyes display a sorrowful gaze. Ernest is very well acquainted with the word no. Both me and Justin burst out laughing at the disenchanted expression on Ernest's face. So Dustin redeems the situation by throwing some of the fluffy toys off the settee for Ernest to retrieve. Ernest lets out a happy woof and runs after his toys, his tail wagging enthusiastically. You better be careful there. You're making him too fond of you, I say.
Are you afraid that Ernest might like me more than you? Dustin teases, with a mischievous, amused twinkle in his eye. I'll have you know, dogs do have a tendency to fall head over heels in love with me.
As if I believe that. Ernest wouldn't do that to me. Never. Look, I don't need to be a nag. But while you're under my roof, Dustin, I need you to try at least to eat and drink something. I mean, how can you expect to get fit if you don't eat anything? I tell you what, I'll make you a smoothie, banana and yogurt, whisked together with some peanut butter. And do you think you can try and manage that? I'd be grateful if you could.
I'll give it a go, but I'm not terribly hungry.
I'm worried about you sleeping on this couch. Do you have the strength to walk further down the passageway, where I've made a bed up for you in that bedroom there? It'll be so much more comfortable for you than sleeping on a couch.
I'm happy where I am for the moment. Thank you, Eve. I think it's just too far to walk to that bedroom right now. I'm not strong enough yet, but I'll get there.
Fair enough. What about the bathroom facilities? It's not too far from the couch. It's through that door over there. Do you think you can manage that? I can give you a hand if you like to get there. Or otherwise I can give you a bucket for your ablutions. What would you like to do?
The bathroom will be absolutely fine. I can get there on my own. But thanks, Eve, for offering.
If you're sure, you know you can call me if you need my help. Just shout out, and Ernest will bark in response and wake me up, so I'll know you're calling me. So there we are. That's the end of part 1. Part 2 is tomorrow night. Until next time, goodbye and good night.